Hi, Joe here from SHUTTERSPEAK Photography. Very nice to see your smiling faces again here on YouTube. So, we all know that the Nikon Z is a fantastic camera system. If you use it, most people that use it absolutely love it. And due to its incredible dynamic range and fantastic color reproduction, it's able to grab shots in almost any situation. But there are situations that come up that even the Nikon Z can be challenged by. So what if I could show you two settings that I use that can get you your shot in almost any situation? That's what we're going to take a look at today. I'll go through the menu settings and how I use it and how it's going to benefit you so that you can put your eye up to that viewfinder and be able to compose and change settings on the fly right through the viewfinder that will be able to get you your shot in almost any situation. So, hey, before we get started, I'd just like to say thanks again for watching. If anything in this video does help you out, and I hope it does, please help me out by hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell for future updates. Feel free to leave me a comment as well. I do try and answer all comments as much as I can. So, without any further delay, let's get started. Okay, so here on the front of your Nikon Z camera are two function buttons, function 1 and function 2, I believe they are labeled. And yes, they are. And with these two buttons, you can use these buttons to be able to adapt to almost any shooting situation out there on the fly. I'm going to show you what I have mine set to and why I use it. Now, just to throw a little background out there, I do work as a press photographer. I shoot NHL hockey. I've shot major concerts in New York City from every named act you could imagine, and using these settings can really be a huge time saver for you. And like I said, the last thing you want is to be in some kind of dynamic shooting situation where you need to change the setting and now you have to fumble through menu settings on the back of your camera. Or even using the I button is really sometimes just too much of a delay. You really need to be able to resolve a lot of these situations with your eye up to the camera as you're shooting. And using these two buttons, we can use the function 1 and function 2 combined with the two command dials to change and adapt. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is how to set up the menu settings to customize the F1 and F2 button on your Nikon Z series camera. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit the menu button, scroll down to the pencil for custom settings menus, and in custom settings select F for control and then F2 for custom controls, and then you'll see the function 1 and function 2 buttons up at the top. Function 1 is probably set to white balance, but you're going to scroll through the list there and find metering and select OK, and then head over to function 2, and it may already be set to autofocus mode, but if not, scroll through your list and select that, hit OK, and then to confirm these settings and exit the menu, just press menu again to exit out, and you're done. Okay, so we've made these menu setting changes and we got our function 1 and function 2 button program, but now what can this do for us, and why is it so effective a system to use in your daily photography? Well, I'm going to tell you why. First off, let's say you're in a dynamic lighting situation, concert, something like that. Maybe it's your son or daughter's school play and they have a role and suddenly there's a spotlight on them. You put that camera up to your face, and the camera's great at resolving all sorts of different shooting situations, but once you put a spotlight on somebody's face, what's going to happen is the camera's going to try and resolve to the middle, which means you're going to end up with some dark areas, you're going to end up with some highlights that are overexposed, and unfortunately, more times than not, those highlights end up on the face. This is especially true if you're photographing a concert, whether it be professionally or just a local band that you happen to like. Spotlight hits the face of somebody on stage, they're going to end up typically being overexposed. So one of the ways that you can compensate that is, of course, you can go into flash compensation mode and dial it down. and experiment a little bit and see how many stops you might need to knock things down. But a more effective way, just get that camera up to your eye. Okay, now you have that shooting scenario, okay, without even ever having to take your eye off the subject. Just push that top function button and start scrolling your back command dial until you hit highlight weighted metering mode, and then continue shooting. What's going to happen is, once you put your camera into that mode, the camera's going to calculate in an attempt to not overexpose the most brightly exposed areas. Typically, again, with a spotlight situation, it's going to be the face, and you're going to get the shots because the face is the most important part in a scenario like that. Now, that's great, but let's say you're, again, same scenario. There's a bunch of kids on stage. It's your kids' school play. Or maybe your kids have a band, or a friend has a band and you're taking some pictures for a band. There's 3 or 4 people on stage and you're in face detection mode. Face detection mode is picking up the wrong person, and yes, of course, you can switch it on the back of the camera and sometimes that works, but let's say you want to knock the camera quickly out of face detect mode because maybe it's bouncing back and forth and you want to focus on just the singer or just the guitarist. Again, just put that camera up to your face and then hit that bottom command dial, and you can start scrolling using the front command dial, all the different focus modes. So maybe I'm on face detection and I can just a couple of swipes of the finger of that front command dial, move it to pin or some other focus mode that is going to work better for me in that particular shooting scenario. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to do this. Again, it's going to allow us to adjust on the fly in almost any situation. Now, let's say you're shooting a sports event and you only want to get one person. Again, maybe it's your kid, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a sports figure that you know, you want to get. Maybe you're working for the press and you need particular shots of a certain person. In sports, if that's your scenario, face detection is not going to work for you, so you're going to need some other metering mode, and you might need it very quickly. Quite often, like if we're shooting, say, NHL hockey moves at incredibly fast speeds. The puck moves at over 100 miles per hour at times. Let's say I'm in a shooting scenario and I want to get a shot of the goaltender. I may want to revert to an old school method of creating a focus trap. So how do I create a focus trap? Well, what I do is I take the camera out of continuous focus mode. So again, as I'm focused on my subject, I can just hit that bottom button, spin my back command dial, and go to autofocus single. Now, while holding that same command dial, depending on what focus mode I'm in, I might want to switch to a small area focus. Now, once I have that done, I can half press my shutter, put the focus point on the goaltender, and now just wait. And once there's a shot, I can hit my shutter button completely and just hold it down and let it rapid fire. And I don't need to worry about, well, a player skated through, or there was a stick that went up and the camera grabbed focus of the stick, or the ref skated by and the camera grabbed focus of the ref. It's going to ignore all of those things. It's going to stay on its predetermined focus point and shoot as fast as possible. Simple focus trap. Again, it's old school photography and it works great, especially if you're trying to get an action shot in a scenario like that. So again, that's just another way of how we can change on the fly. Now, all right, that shooting scenario is over, but the play hasn't stopped. I don't want to take this camera away from my eye. So now I can just, again, hit that bottom command button and I can just back control dial and go right back to autofocus continuous, scroll my front command dial, and I can go back into whatever focus mode I want. Again, quickly doing this on the fly without taking the camera away from my face. So I'm able to resolve just about any type of shooting situation that I need to by just using these function 1 and function 2 buttons without ever having to take the camera away from my eye. So that's why this scenario works so well for me when I'm doing press work. So again, if I'm doing a concert, if I'm doing sports, whatever it might be, These are very dynamic situations, especially concerts. Lighting is changing constantly. So in order to be able to dynamically change the type of metering that I'm doing and dynamically change the type of focusing system that I'm using on the fly without losing track of my subject or without taking the camera away from my face, enables me to get images consistently all the time without having to, oh, well, let me hit my I button here and go to this setting or that setting. That doesn't work, because once I take my camera from here to here, I'm missing shots. I'm missing what's going on. By enabling me to do this with my camera up, with my focus on my subject, I'm never going to miss a shot. Or, well, I might miss some shots, but hey, that's probably my fault, but it's probably not the fault of the camera, because I've minimized the amount of clicks it takes me to change settings. Now, one of the defaults for this camera is, for the function button, is white balance. White balance is something that, first off, auto white balance works fantastic. You're rarely going to have to change white balance. Like, for example, if you were shooting in a hockey rink, like for me, if I shoot in the same rink all the time, I know what the white balance setting is, and I will custom set the white balance at the beginning of the game, and I will leave it that way. I'm never going to change white balance on the fly. Will I change metering on the fly? Maybe. Will I change focus modes on the fly? 100% yes. 100% yes. So, you know, this is just something that works really well. Now, in a concert, am I going to change focus modes on the fly? Yeah, I probably will. Will I change metering on the fly? Yes, I probably will. And that enables me to keep shooting continuously to get the shots that I need. That's why I hope you take the time out to consider trying those settings that way. I think it's going to help your shooting tremendously. So there you have it, folks. That's kind of my take on how to really effectively use the Nikon Z system in these various scenarios. I hope this helps you, and if it did, well, please help me out by hitting subscribe and ringing that bell so you get notified of future updates. I appreciate you watching this. It's nice to see your smiling faces, as always, here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.